Awesome. So today is the third week in Advent. And as I mentioned last week, Advent is the beginning of the traditional Christian calendar year. And we mark it as a time of celebration and appreciation for the birth of Jesus, and also as a time of spiritual preparation as we go inside and address and come to terms and connect with our inner Christ spirit, our own divinity. And each week in Advent, we focus on an aspect of spirit that Jesus taught us. And so the first week, Ken Wood was here and he spoke about faith. Last week, we spoke about peace. And next week, Reverend Joy will be speaking about joy. And today we're talking about love. And much of what I'm going to speak about today is to do with the teachings of Jesus, but it's also drawn from the book by Don Miguel Ruiz called The Mastery of Love. Now, some of you might be more familiar with the other book that Don Miguel Ruiz wrote, which is The Four Agreements. And the reason that I bring that to your attention is because we're so familiar with one that we tend to forget that he has other wisdom in this other book, and they're both wonderful, wonderful pieces of work. Oh, thank you, Lori. I made a mental note to do that, and then I forgot. Which goes to prove how good my mental notes are. So Ruiz is a master of the Toltec tradition, which originated in Mexico thousands of years ago. And like so many mystical traditions, has been passed down from generation to generation, often in secret. And then when the time is right, that information comes to the fore. And the reason that it was done in secrecy at the time is interesting. In his own words, he says it's because of the misuse of personal power by people who were apprentices. So even the people who were learning ended up finding that there was power in these teachings and then used it and misused it for their own gain. And also what the book politely refers to, at least I think it's politely, as European conquest, which is another word that I can think of for the Spanish Inquisition. So anyway, nonetheless, Don Miguel Ruiz is a master of this tradition and has shared these teachings in our time because this is the time that he feels is ready for us to receive. And what's interesting to note is that regardless of what the spiritual discipline is, we all have different ways to explain the same spiritual truth. And that is that at our essence, we are divine. And that at our essence, we are one. And it is my belief, and I said this last week, that no matter who we are, where we are, how we live, or who we love, we all basically want the same things out of life. We want lives that are filled with love, with joy, and with peace. And the premise of the book, The Mastery of Love, is that we've forgotten that at our core we are love. And so we make the mistake of looking for love outside of us. But in order for ourselves to be happy, the love that inside of us has to flow outward. And so the book examines some of the reasons that we forget our innate wholeness. It examines what living a love-filled rather than a fear-filled life might look like. And it suggests ideas for returning and reconnecting with that love that is inside us, that is our natural state. So we'll just go in that same order, because I think that makes sense to me. Why do we forget that we are love, that we are enough, just as we are? Well, from the Toltec's point of view, everything we believe about ourselves, everything we know about our world, is a dream. Now what's interesting is if any of you have read A Course in Miracles, you'll know that the very first chapter of it is everything is an illusion. Same message. So Ruiz has us imagine ourselves in a planet that has for thousands and thousands of years lived with a skin infection that shows up as a painful wound at about the age of 3 or 4. And because it's painful, we protect ourselves when we're touched. And if someone accidentally touches us in that infected place, it hurts. And in reaction, we want to hurt back to show them how much it hurts. Similarly to that skin infection, the Toltec thinking is that the human mind is similarly sick with a disease called fear. And that fear shows up as anger, hate, sadness, envy, resentment, hypocrisy, much as measles might show up as spots and itchiness and fever. And much as those spots are wounds that may become infected and poisonous to our physical body, so the anger, the fear, the envy, the hypocrisy are emotional wounds that are an emotional poison for our bodies. Now, because we've lived with this illness for so long, we don't even know that it's an illness anymore. We all suffer from that same illness called fear, and it's what the Toltecs call the dream of the planet. They also call it the dream of hell. Now, the Toltec believe, and we believe as well here in Unity, that heaven and hell are not places that you go to after you die. They're places in our consciousness on earth right now. Look at the definition of hell as we speak about it today. A place of suffering, a place of drudgery, of violence, of judgment, of endless punishment. For many, that sounds like their everyday lives. The demons in hell are ourselves. They're our own minds. And we've learned to be masters of our own little heavens and hells, based on how we think. Of course, we didn't decide this consciously. We didn't wake up one day and say, I was living in heaven, now I'm going to live in hell. We don't do that. It happens as a process. We're part of a human society, and human society has been living this way for thousands of years. So don't be too depressed at this idea that we might be suffering from the disease of fear. How do we catch it? As I said, we're not born with it. Our natural, uninhibited self is to live in joy, to have fun, to be like little kids. Have you ever seen little children play? Do they laugh? You bet. Do they hurt? Oh yeah. Do they cry when they hurt? Yeah, you know when they're hurting. Do they let you know when they're angry? Yes, they do. Do they care about what you think of them? No. Not really. Laughing, joyfully, playing, singing, and exploring is our natural state. Children feel those feelings, express their feelings, and return to that natural state very quickly. They're unfailingly honest in the moment, as I'm sure anyone who may have been accused of being pregnant when they were simply overweight might know. But the grudges don't last for very long. I can imagine this picture of two little girls fighting and getting really angry with each other. You're not my best friend anymore, I hate you. And off they go, other sides of the playground. The parents are horrified, get into a discussion about why each one of them, their daughters, was the right one. And start into their own anger response. 5 minutes later, the girls are best friends again. The parents, not so much. Kids feel their feelings, express them, and get back to their natural state. Why don't we stay that way? Adults train us. And as adults, they pass this highly contagious disease called fear to us. And we learn then the concepts of reward, of punishment, of acceptance and rejection, of good boy, bad boy. We are taught that others' opinions matter. And as children listening to authority figures, we start to believe those opinions, whether they are founded in truth or not. Opinions such as stupid, ugly, fat, thin, female, male, good girl, even that. They're all labels. And as children, the Toltec call it domesticated. We're domesticated to learn that in order to survive, we have to create an image that finds acceptance in order to be good enough for mommy or daddy, for the teacher, for the minister, whatever. Eventually, the fake it till you make it that is so ingrained in us as we are little so that we can be accepted by the people who are our caretakers, that we forget that we were perfect all along. Really, it's method acting at its extreme. Note that although this sounds awfully depressing, it's okay. It's okay. No, it does sound depressing. No blame, though, is necessary. There's no right or wrong. It is just where we're at in our evolution. We're living a dream based on fear because we are human. Our work, though, is to heal that disease and to live as love, to live as life. One of the things the Toltec do in this book is he interchangeably uses the words God, love, and life. And I found that really interesting. He would say, we are God, we are love, we are life. They are all the same force. So as with anything that needs healing, an important step is to develop an awareness that we are truly part of this fear-based consciousness. And so it's helpful, I believe, to take a moment and look at the characteristics of a consciousness based on fear and compare those characteristics to a consciousness based on love. If we operate from fear, our behaviors and our thinking will be characterized, for example, by a sense of obligation. We do things because we have to do them. We expect others to do things because they have to do it. There's a lot of shoulding in fear. Now you may ask, what's so wrong with that? Isn't it true that sometimes people should do things? I think it's a fair question. But here's the challenge with getting people to should. Sooner or later, we know it for ourselves, and it's true for other people when they respond to us. We resist things that we feel that we have to do. Others resist things when they feel that they have to do it for us. And that leads to resentment. It leads to anger. We described that as hell just a few seconds ago. In love, there is no obligation. Therefore, there is no resistance. We do things because we want to do them. We do them because giving is a pleasure. We give them because it's fun and joyful. People do things for us because they want to do them, because for them the giving is a pleasure and is joyful. When we find ourselves shoulding, when we are demanding things of ourselves and from others because of obligation, we are living in a consciousness of the disease called fear. Fear behavior creating hell, then? Obligation.
Holy shit, I hate that.
Thanks, Mo. Love behavior creating heaven? No obligation. Holy shit. Remember that one. If we're operating from fear, another example, we will have behaviors and thinking that will be characterized similarly to obligation by a sense of expectation. They are different, but in much the same way as obligation, we do things because we feel we're expected to do them, and we expect others to do things that they should be doing for us. You see how closely related they are. Again, you may ask, well, what's wrong with that? Shouldn't we be expected to do things in a certain way, and shouldn't we expect people to behave in a certain way? Again, the challenge is expectations lead to hurt. When we expect something and it doesn't happen, it hurts. Then, at some level, we blame ourselves and beat ourselves up for expecting it. We blame the other and beat them up emotionally for not fulfilling our expectations. Sometimes we blame ourselves and the other because goodness knows there's enough blame to go around. Hurt and blame. Again, sounds like hell. This is the reason that the Buddhists say that attachment is the root of all suffering. In love, there is no expectation. We do things because we want to, not because it's expected of us. If others do things or they don't do things, it's because they want to or they don't want to, and it doesn't need to be taken personally. We don't set ourselves up for disappointment. As a result, we don't get hurt. So, fear behavior, creating hell, expectation. Love behavior, creating heaven, no expectation. Another example, respect. Think about this. If I feel sorry for someone, I'm not demonstrating respect for them. That's a hard one.
Yeah.
We're pretty used to thinking and feeling sorry for people, but I'll get to it, I promise. But if we feel sorry for someone, if we then make choices and try to control them, we're telling them that we don't trust them enough to make their own choices. We're telling them that they are not enough. When we try to control, we are demonstrating disrespect and mistrust. That creates hell. The alternative to feeling sorry for someone that is love-based is compassion. Different. What does it look like? Compassion says, I know that this is tough. I can see that you're in pain. But I trust your process. I'm not going to fix it for you. I trust that you can do it yourself. I know you can make it. Fear behavior, by saying that you're feeling sorry for someone and trying to help them and taking away what is theirs to fix, is actually disrespectful. Love behavior, telling them that you can see that they're in pain, acknowledge their pain, and be there for them, to support them through their journey, that's respectful. So, fear behavior, creating hell, control and disrespect. Love behavior, creating heaven, respect. Last one of these, I could go on all day with these, of course. Fear, full of conditions. I love you if you love me. I love you if you're good to me. I love you if you fit into the image that I have in my head of what you should be. I'm reminded of this story that I heard a long time ago about a bride who was getting all jittery the night before her wedding, and she was scared that she was going to tumble as she was walking down the aisle. And her mom says to her, "Don't worry, honey, here's what you need to do. As you get to the back of the church, you look down that aisle and just think, aisle, aisle. But you don't want to be looking too far down, so make sure that you look up a little. Look at that altar and think, altar. And then, because you don't want to look like you're completely straight, make sure that you look to the 2 hymn boards on either side that have the names and numbers of the hymns." Obviously it was an Anglican or Roman Catholic church. So remember this, honey, aisle, altar, hymn. Aisle, altar, hymn.
Doesn't work.
It doesn't work. You're right, it really does not work. Does it?
But it's been a good try.
Try.
Oh dear.
Now that's another next section or something, right?
Wouldn't that be fun? Yeah, we could do a whole
That would be
talk on
actually.
that. So, where was I in this? Oh gosh. None of us has the right to be so disrespectful as to try and change somebody. Nobody else has the right to be so disrespectful as to try and change us. That is ours to do. When we work from a place of power over, rather than a place of power with, we are being disrespectful. We are not being loving. There is no if in love. Love is unconditional. I love you. That's it. No reason, no justification. If I don't like who you are, then I need to choose to be with somebody else. But it's not up to me to change you. Anybody remember what an oxymoron is? Pardon?
Jumbo shrimp.
Jumbo shrimp, exactly. 2 words that are back to back that seem to contradict each other. Jumbo shrimp. I used to work with an engineer, so I said smart engineer. The one that we hear a lot, conditional love. There is no such thing as conditional love. Conditional love is a contract. It's not love. So, fear behavior leading to love. No, sorry, fear behavior leading to hell. Conditions. Love behavior leading to heaven. No conditions. So, having said all of these, I'm getting a bit of a sense of what love reactions are versus fear reactions. How do we move more into that love-based existence? First, we need to take responsibility for our own happiness. Ruiz tells a story, quite long, so I'll try and abridge it, of a man who didn't believe in love, who meets a woman who also doesn't believe in love. And eventually they become best friends. They end up respecting each other. They never put each other down. They want to be together because they have so much fun together. There's no envy, no jealousy, no possessiveness, no control. They eventually become lovers and they live together. And things continue to be wonderful. In fact, they just seem to get better and better, and they are so happy. And one night, he's looking up at the stars, and a miracle happens. He finds the most beautiful star in the sky, and it magically comes down to his hand because he is so filled with love. And then a second miracle occurs, and that is that star and he merge together, and his soul becomes one with the star. He goes to the woman filled with love, and to prove his love to her, he gives her the star with his soul in it. Faced with that overwhelming love, she feels a moment of doubt. The star falls from her hands and breaks into 1,000,000 pieces. What a sad story. What went wrong? The man put his happiness in her hands. By making her responsible, he gave her the power to take his happiness away. How often do we take our star, our happiness, and put it in somebody else's hands? That's a lot of responsibility. There's no way that someone else can be everything we want them to be, because they are who they are, with their dreams, with their story. We have no right to give our power to somebody else. In every relationship, there are two halves. One half is ourselves. The other half is the other. Father, mother, co-worker, child, parent, husband, lover. The part that we have to remember is we're only responsible for our half. We never know what's going on for the other person. And it would be disrespectful in the extreme to attempt to control the other person's half of the relationship. Besides, if one person controls the relationship, where's the other person's dreams? Who is being loved? Love insists on each person in a relationship being a partner rather than one person controlling the other. To master a relationship, it is helpful then to remember that each person is an individual with their own mind and their own dream. We need to respect the other person's half. Then we don't control it. So, okay, they've got their half. We've decided that we're not going to put our hands in the hands of somebody else. So then where do we go to find our happiness? And this is perhaps the most challenging aspect of the mastery of love. We begin to discover how to love ourselves again. Now Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. Have you ever thought about that? Did it ever think, I know I have, isn't that selfish to love yourself? All our lives we've been taught that we are to be selfless, that we should put others first. And we've confused selfish and self-love. It is not selfish to love yourself. In fact, it is necessary. All of these things that I've spoken about, respect, obligation, expectation, must also apply to how we speak to ourselves. And yet the words we say about ourselves and to ourselves daily can be terribly unkind. In order for us to truly give love to others, we must first learn to love ourselves. And that means being okay with all the imperfections, with all the fact that we have habits that aren't that nice, that we aren't that good at math, that we're too tall, that we're too short, that we're male, that we're female, that we're gay, that we're straight, that we're a manager, that we're a janitor. None of it matters. All that stuff is what they call in the Toltec the parasite. It's the ego. It's the stuff that feeds on your energy and takes away your innate divinity from your consciousness. When we find ourselves thinking this way, we have the opportunity to uninvite that parasite from our lives. It served us when we were children. We needed that. But it no longer serves us now. And now we, as adults, have the power to choose differently. And finally, in his book, Ruiz says, and I quote, "Surrender all those ideas about being what you are not and become what you really are." End quote. When we can transcend what Ruiz calls the dream, when we can recognize that we are already divine, that we are already expressions of God, and that we don't need to look outside of ourselves to find the love that we seek, then we can be as free as we were as children. We can have more energy, experience more fun, more joy, every day, in every moment. And this is what Jesus meant when he said, I believe, that he came to show us how to have life and have it more abundantly. He also said, come as little children. Jesus, Buddha, other great masters from all different religions and spiritual paths have told us that it's not normal to live in fear, that there is another way to live. And they remind us that beneath the fear, at our core, we are love. We are life. We are expressions of God. The real we is love. So, come as little children, play, explore, laugh, feel, express your feelings. Go back to the beginning. Play, explore, have fun, sing, get angry, express your feelings, play. Learn to be like the kids. Love coming out of you. This is a quote. Love coming out of you is the only way to be happy. End quote. Doesn't that sound like heaven?